All right. Welcome, you guys. Super excited to have you in our auto intro session. We have limited time, and I know Rob has a lot of great things to talk about and to show you guys, so we are going to jump right in. I have Rob home with me, who's the director of our automotive program and who is overqualified for teaching our students about the automotive industry and diagnostics and all things mechanics. He is the guru. So I'm excited to have him to share with you guys a taste of what it's like to be a part of the auto program at Walla. Rob, it's all you.
Hello. Thank you, Melissa. Overqualified is a vast overstatement, but thank you anyway. My name is Rob Holm. I have been working here for I think this is year 17, something like that. And yeah, I run the auto program. So what we do is we have 3 different majors. An auto management major, an auto technology major, and then for those people that would like to do something in conjunction with another major, we'll have an associate degree. It takes 3 years to get through just because of the odd nature of how our classes are sequenced, but that's generally speaking for somebody who wants to study automotive with another major. Anyway, that's what we do. We can spend a lot of time talking about all sorts of details, but I think what we typically do during U days is I will kind of walk kids around the shop so you can see the kind of equipment that we have that you are able to work with and learn on. And then we just do a demonstration on one of the pieces we have. Right now I'm sitting in a car that's sitting actually on a dyno, and we will run this car on the dyno so you can kind of see what happens and how it works, and we'll make lots of noise. Probably some smoke too, certainly a lot of heat, and then I'll answer some questions if you guys have them. So I'm going to move here from my current location, and I'll just kind of walk you around the shop. And Melissa, how many people do we have so far?
We've got 3 in watching you right now.
Okay. What would be best? Do you want them to be able to ask questions interactively, or should we just wait?
Good question. We'll wait till the end. You guys, if you have questions, there is a Q&A box at the bottom here. Feel free to type questions. If they're ones that I can field while Rob is talking, I will do that. If not, we'll go over all of your questions at the end. A lot of them might be covered by the information that he shares, but be sure that if you have questions along the way that you're not sure would be covered, type them into the box and we'll cover them at the end for you.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to flip cameras here and see if I can make this work. I should not be technologically challenged, but some ways I think I am. So we will switch camera, maybe. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go side to side. This is going to be somewhat blurry video for a little bit. So I'm just walking the other side of the shop. And since I'm short, I'm going to stand up. Here's our shop, and I'll just kind of slowly pan around. The 2 most important pieces in our shop are on the wall. Those are our speakers for music. So we tend to have music going on frequently around here. So in this area on I want to say this is the south side of the shop, you'll have in kind of the far corner there a glass bead machine, which is really good for cleaning aluminum and other kind of fragile parts without damaging them. We have valve grinding equipment, transmission stuff, typical drill presses, regular presses, grinding machines, all the kind of usual stuff you would find in the shop. A soda machine, another very important piece of our shop. And then I keep moving on this way, and I'm just going to do a 360-degree loop here and then walk around a little bit. This area here is kind of lab benches. That basically is space for our lab students to work. Sometimes in the fall quarter, we would have engines torn apart. In fact, let me just run over here for a second. So this is an engine on a stand that we're currently fixing. It was one that was overheated, and we have a lot of kind of machine work and other things to do to it, but that will go back in a car that belongs to us and we'll probably sell it. So again, lab space over in here. This room, this is so weird walking with a camera in front of me. This is our tool room. Lights, there we go. So we have lots of specialty tools in here on the wall. Somewhat disorganized right now just because there's several of us working and we're trying to clean some stuff up. But lots of cabinets, pullers, scan tools that you don't see, they're locked away in boxes, oscilloscopes, you know, dial indicators, you name it. We have a lot of specialty tools that you guys can work with. And again, more lab space here. And I have, well, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bays in the shop. 4 of them have hoists. The first 2 are what we call in-ground lifts. So I'll walk over here, and there you go. These hoists will actually lift the car off the ground. You can work underneath them. You're going to see some toolboxes and stuff in here, lots of storage space. And for those of you that are already asking the question, yes, you can store your toolboxes in here because you will not want to take them back and forth to your room. We have a Corvette in here that's having an engine pulled out right now. One of the things that you will probably see frequently in this shop is BMW. Well, never mind. I will eliminate my bias. I'll just tell you that that is my experience and my background. So we see a lot of them. Empty bay, cool. And oh, that's Austin. Hi, Austin. And that's Austin's pickup. We try not to say too much about his choice of vehicles. But anyway, this is our dyno. So the car that's sitting on it, and some of you guys might be interested in this. It's kind of a ugly car in my opinion, but it's a drift car. And Christopher's working on it, doing an alignment. Speaking of alignments, all this red equipment over here is really cool. We've gotten a fair amount of money in donations to get state-of-the-art equipment. So this is all pretty late model stuff, the types of things that you would see in dealerships if you were to go work there. So this is, you know, recent equipment, fairly new, and it all works. Good tire balancer, a lift that we can actually lift the car up on the lift itself and then off the lift into the air. So all good stuff. Tire machines, these are, well, this tire machine, I need to back up. That one's really cool. It's capable of doing like 30-inch rims, and they cost about $22,000. So a lot of this stuff has been well supported by patrons of ours or benefactors. I'm not sure the right term right now. Anyway, car on the dyno. We'll run that here in a second, and the screen that you guys can see what's going on. I will walk you into the back room. Again, lights. Go. Maybe. There we go. Okay, shelves of lots of transmissions and differentials and good stuff over here. These are all engines that will be for students to work on. Most of them will never go back into a vehicle. There's something wrong with it, and your job is to figure out what is wrong. So there's a couple of these, like this one, right? Not that one. This guy right here. This is actually an engine that's on a stand. We can run it. I have a whole lot of switches down here. It's kind of cool. I can flip those switches and make something not work. And the student's job is to figure out what that is. So it makes my job easy. I don't have to cut wires. I don't have to beat on something with a hammer. I can flip a switch. What else? Storage for toolboxes and various other things. We'll walk this way. All right. And then we're back to kind of lab space. I don't necessarily want to go upstairs if I don't have to, but Melissa, that's kind of up to you. Upstairs is our classroom that belongs to us and us only. How are we doing on time?
You're doing great. We're only 10 minutes in. You got to rock another half hour, 20 minutes or so. Good to go.
You guys are screwed. I don't got that much material.
Perfect. We can do questions at the end. We can end early, and they have other video content they can go through. So take whatever time you need.
Okay. So I think for now what we'll do is I'll kind of explain this a little bit. This is our dyno. This is probably the most expensive piece of equipment we have in the shop. And it's, I don't know if you can see, you probably can. The front wheels are actually sitting on rollers. So are the back wheels. Well, this is not a four-wheel drive car. This is a two-wheel drive. What it makes this dyno, among other things, really cool is that we can run either two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive excuse me, vehicles on it. And things like Volvos and Mercedes, Subarus that have really sophisticated all-wheel drive systems, we can run those things on this dyno without any sort of mechanical problem or issue. If you were to run it on a normal dyno, you can end up blowing up center differentials on those types of cars. So this one is about 150 grand. but it is quite capable. So we use this a lot. We use it for our tuning class. So one of the things if I have time, I'll take you out to our shop Suburban and just kind of show you what we've done over there. But let me get this set up. Pardon me for a second, guys. See if I can make this work. Okay, well, this might take a second. I had it working earlier. There we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do, if you're all right with this, I'm going to leave this right here. I'll walk over to the car. We'll actually make maybe a dyno run or two, and I'll come back and kind of talk about what happened. Can you see the TV screen on to the left of it?
Yes. You can't read the dial super well, but it's visible.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll get to see it, and I'll take my camera up to the unit so we can at least look at some of those numbers in a graph and things like that once we're done here. So you have to give me just a couple minutes because this engine has to warm up a little bit. If it's not warm, it's not going to like it. So it's going to get noisy, I promise you. I don't know what it's going to sound like on you guys' end, so this is super authentic. We're going to just figure it out. I'm going to turn some fans on because we have to have airflow over the front of the car, and then we'll just go ahead and make some noise. So let's see what happens, okay? So bear with me for a few minutes.
One of the cool things about this tool, you guys, is it is, like you said, super powerful, super noisy, smoke, all the things that you want to see in like car racing, you get out of the dyno. The equipment that we have in our shop is super rare, so we have a lot of ability to work on things that other auto shops just don't have at their fingertips. The other cool thing about our auto program, you guys, for the last, I don't even know how long, maybe a couple decades now, we've had 100% job placement in auto. And our automotive program allows you to do a full 4 years, like Rob talked about earlier, which means that not only are you learning the basic mechanics of automotive technology, you're also learning diagnostics, which 2-year programs at a lot of community colleges, for example, don't teach. So our students and graduates quickly move into management positions in different shops and in racing companies because of their diagnostic history and capabilities because of the program at Walla Walla. It's so thorough and it's so advanced. There are very few 4-year automotive programs with the technology that we have, and very few Christian automotive programs. So it really is super rare and really high caliber for automotive. And Rob did warn you he's going to warm things up a little bit, but once he gets started with this dyno, it is noisy. So you'll be grateful that you have volume control on your computers or plug your ears, whatever you need to do when he runs at full force. Okay, as he keeps warming it up, I'm going to give you guys a couple fun details. In addition about automotive, they actually have some amazing like wholesale type discounts with Snap-on tools, Matco tools, Craftsman tools, so that as you're part of the auto program, you can start building your toolkits and sets so that by the time you finish, you can have the tools and necessities that you need to run your own shop or to be a participant at a high level in an automotive shop or just to work on your own rigs. And we did have a question asked already about working on your own cars. Absolutely, as class projects and as your own projects, you have a lot of access to the equipment in the shop here, as well as help from Rob and upperclassmen in the auto program. So you have a lot of opportunity to work on your own cars. Your personal cars can be part of your senior project, so you can do some major overhauls on your own vehicle while you're here. You can help work on community vehicles. There is a shop where people, functioning shop where people can bring their cars in and students.
Okay. I'll probably need to, we'll not go to this one. I gotta have my mouse. So we'll go over here. All right. Everybody still with me?
Yeah. It
Okay,
was not
cool.
nearly as noisy as I expected. Did you run full force on that one?
Yes, ma'am.
It's so much less painful through a computer.
Okay, well, that's good. So I don't know what you can see on the screen. Let's look at some numbers here on the bottom. Is that in focus, Melissa?
Yeah, the green is a little bit blurry, but everything else is nice and clear.
Better or worse?
About the same. For some reason, it's just the lighting on the green text. That works.
Okay, so this one says max horsepower with WCF. That just means it's weather corrected for the conditions inside the shop. 319 horsepower. This is at the wheels. And the torque is 311 at the wheels. Now, what's kind of cool is if we want to actually look at the graph. Oh, I got to change the numbers because this is not high enough. So we'll change these numbers so we can actually see the values. There you go. So this is what we call our dyno graph. Oops, not that one, 2000. There we go. So we can see this red line here. This is actual horsepower that's produced by the car in real time. The blue line is the torque produced by the car at the wheels. And so this value is what we're actually seeing at the wheels, not at the crankshaft. So anyway, you can, a lot of times these graphs are really, really interesting because we can see on them performance problems. We can see how the engine's performing at basically every RPM, if it has misfires, if it has low torque output or something's going on. A lot of times we can see that in the power output from the dyno. So one of the next thing I'm going to do, if we're still good on time, is I'm going to do one more run, but we'll do it in a different gear. This was in third gear. So I'll close this out. And again, you see what? 318. So I think that's it. 318.9. I'm going to run it in fourth gear. Now we're going to generate a lot more heat in fourth gear because it's going to take longer for it to get all the way to the top. But we started at, well, this number here, 6,900 RPM, that's where we stopped measuring. This engine is kind of cool. It's a normally aspirated, I don't know, maybe you can see it. There you go. It's a normally aspirated 5-liter motor, so 303 cubic inches approximately. No turbos, just runs completely on atmospheric pressure, but it produces from the factory at the crankshaft 400 horsepower. And so we see at the wheels, by the time it goes through all the drivetrain and everything else, these numbers that you saw on the screen. So some of you guys are like, so bored already. That's right. If you're bored, you can leave. I promise we'll be done soon. So the next thing, I'm going to run this in fourth gear, so a different gear ratio, and we'll see if these numbers change. And we can actually compare graphs between each other. So we'll give that a shot and see what happens. So I'm going to run you back over to the other side and put you all down for a second again, and we'll do one more run. Maybe. Assuming it doesn't blow up.
I like your sweet cell phone setup there, Rob.
Thank you. So, anyway, one more time. We good?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I gotta let it run for a little bit because it got hot. So, but for the sake of argument, now let's go over here. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so this time, that number's a little higher. 334 horsepower at the wheels, and the torque was 341. So that just, I didn't do anything differently other than running in a different gear. So if somebody is very physically inclined to think about this mathematically, then I'd say go for it. But yeah, big difference in gear ratios make a fairly large difference in the power output. So time-wise, Melissa, what are we doing?
We are at 4:22, so you've got a good few minutes left.
Okay, let's see what happened here. Hey. Okay, that's showing a little bit of noise. I'm not sure why, but we get the idea anyway. Okay, so max horsepower again, 334, 335, something like that. It looks pretty similar. And if I wanted to see two of them together, we can also do that. Let's see. I've done a few of these, as you can probably tell. Let's try this one. There you go. So that's a run that I did before, earlier today. And if you look really closely, you can kind of see two separate lines, a red one and a burgundy one, and then two shades of blue, and then this green line. If I click on that, it tells you what actually our air-fuel ratio is at all these different RPMs. So that's really useful and interesting when we go to the tuning. So give me a sec. How did I measure that? Oh, I measured it with a little sensor coming out the exhaust. So, all right, give me a second. I'm gonna turn this stuff off and we'll be good. All right, temperatures are still okay. Okay. So, can we flip screens around? There we go. Are we good?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about 100% job placement. We talked about how a lot of the guys and girls who are graduating in auto are able to go quickly into management because of their level of diagnostics in addition to their mechanical and technological knowledge. And we talked a little bit about the cost discount options with some different tools and
Okay.
Craftsman, Matco, Snap-on, that kind of stuff. But anything else that you want to cover, go for it. And then I have a couple questions I can pop to you.
Okay. What else do I need to cover? I usually never have an agenda. When people start asking me or they come around for tours, usually my goal is to just answer their questions. And so what happens is I end up talking for way too long, and I'm not sure their questions get answered if I just have a spiel,
Okay.
which I don't. So the curriculum is available online if you guys want to look at that. I'm sure some of you probably already have, actually, if you're really interested in this program. Job placement, Melissa's right. We have plenty of students or graduates working at actually kind of across the board. Some in management with Toyota, working Toyota corporate. There's one student, he works for Mazda. He's a regional sales director for the Northwest. He's been out of school maybe 4 or 5 years. So he's doing really well. 3 of my former students are working at Porsche in Bellevue. 2 of them are technicians. 1 of them is a service advisor. What else? Boy,
Did you send someone to Mazda Racing?
Yeah, the one who, he's a sales director for Mazda. He was working with Mazda Racing actually as a student. And so that was he came up here from Southern California, not an Adventist, had no idea about anything Adventist related at all. But he found us because he was looking for a 4-year degree in automotive technology. We are one of 16 programs in the country that I can tell you about for sure. There might be some more, but if there is, it's only 1 or 2. The last research I did, there was 16 in the country. Very few are anywhere close. The next closest one is going to be BYU in Rexburg, Idaho, which is kind of southeastern Idaho. I don't know their admissions policy. It's very much a Mormon school, so I've heard good things about it, but I don't really know that much other than the few comments I've got. So good school. There's some that are really, really good schools. There's some that are not so good. I'm not going to say who or what or anything about that. What I can tell you is Walla Walla has a really, really good history, and our students are in high demand. We have, I said it again, job placement 100%, and Ford and Toyota and a lot of companies will call me kind of the spring quarter this time every year, say, hey, we're recruiting. Can you give us some contact information for your graduating students? And invariably we do. That doesn't mean that they all go to those jobs. Some people don't want to go to Michigan or don't want to go to Florida or don't want to go to California. But anyway, our students do well, and I'm quite proud of them. So.
One of the things I really like about the auto program specifically is the culture. The culture in the shop, the culture of you and your students is something that's really unique. It's really low key and relaxed, and everyone's kind of a family in auto.
That's true. We have Auto Club that's run by the students. It's managed by the students. It actually was a brainchild of one of the students, and so they start that up, and it's open to anybody and everybody. You don't have to be an auto major, but typically we'll have somewhere between 30 and 50 students join Auto Club every year. And they do cool things like the Cars and Coffee, where they get together Friday afternoon and just, go for a kind of extended drive and end up out at the airport at one of the local coffee shops. They help a lot with Alumni Weekend Car Show. Sometimes they'll have just, weekend cruises. We'll just go out driving for 5 or 6 hours, because there's lots of really good roads around here for those of you who like to drive. That car that you saw in the dyno has a tendency to follow on those roads or be engaged somehow. It's kind of fun to drive. Yeah, it's a cool culture. The students take a lot of ownership of it. They tend to keep stuff fairly clean in here. We have no problem with theft. Students leave their tools and toolboxes here. I have a policy. I like to keep stuff clean, but I just don't really worry too much about, if I forgot to lock my box up tonight, what's going to be gone in the morning? Don't worry about that. I'm immensely proud of the students and the culture that we have here, because they're just fantastic people, and it makes it a pleasure to have them here.
Can you tell us a little bit, Rob, about students who are working on personal projects, personal vehicles? That was one of the questions that came in, and then some of the cool senior projects that students work on.
Sure. As an auto major, you have access to the shop. I encourage and support pretty much any project that you want to work on, if it's your own, or your family's, or your significant other, something like that. What I don't allow is students to run their own business out of the shop. But if you are an auto major, you do have complete access to the shop. Maybe not at 3 a.m., but that there's exceptions. We've been known to be here at 3 a.m., just getting stuff done. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the learning process. In fact, the experience is going to be a way better teacher than I'll ever hope to be. The more mistakes you can make in a closed and controlled environment like this, the better. Because what we learn from is the things that we do wrong, not what we do right. And we try to control what you do wrong here in a way that doesn't cost too much money and too much heartache. But that said, you will make mistakes, and I'd rather you do them here where we can fix them instead of on a customer's $175,000 Porsche, and you're the one that ends up paying for that. That's not a good scene. So yeah, unfettered, unrestricted use of the shop when it's open. We have a lot of requests. We have 6 bays, so we have a sign-up process, and it's a fairly easy way to do it. Just Google. It's a Google worksheet, and you can sign up for the bays that you want or bay. We're fairly strict in how much time you're allowed. Well, so in other words, if you sign up for 2 o'clock and you're not here by 2:15, bay goes to somebody else. Okay. So we ask that if you're going to sign up for space, don't just leave it sitting there empty. Okay. And it's cool senior projects. I could take the rest of the time talking about them. One of the ones that was done, I want to say last year, it's still actually sitting here under cover. but it is a project that was done by somebody who graduated from Monterey Bay Academy. His name is Kyle, and he took an old 50, is it 53? I don't even know. I should. It's like a 53 or 51 Chevy pickup. The body is the only thing that is normal or stock on that thing. It's a stock body, but he made a chassis for it, took Corvette running gear and put on it, completely fabricated the thing by hand. It's a 100% custom. The amount of work that went into it is phenomenal. It's immensely good quality work. Very proud of him. He's a technician working for Cadillac right now and is doing extremely well. But that's a cool project. It took him a long time. The car is still not like completed as far as being able to show it, but the part of his senior project that he did was the wiring and the plumbing and the engine, and it starts and runs. And I wish I could show it to you right now. It's sitting undercover, and it would take me 20 minutes to undo it. But it is actually sitting out. Okay.
While you walk out there, I'm going to tell them about one other thing. A student a few years ago went to SEMA, which I want Rob to tell you guys about too, because it's awesome. And our auto club has the opportunity to go. But one of our students asked a company at SEMA about a particular product that they didn't offer, but that would be cool. And they were like, nope, it's not possible. We don't offer it because you can't do it. He took that as a challenge and as his senior project created what they said was impossible. And then they actually ended up offering him a job because of what he was able to do as a student, let alone being a part of their company.
Okay, my video gets really splotchy if I go out any further, but it's that car sitting undercover.
It's so cool, you guys.
So anyway, back to me. Sorry.
Tell them about SEMA.
SEMA, we go every year. It's for juniors and seniors. And it is an incredible experience. If you've never been before, the first year that you go will be completely overwhelming because it's, well, Las Vegas is not what's overwhelming. The show itself is. It's 3.5 million square feet of exhibition space. They take up the entire Las Vegas Convention Center. It is everything aftermarket for the automotive industry, and you'll even find manufacturers there. General Motors is there, Nissan is there, Toyota, BMW, Honda, Mercedes. All of them are there giving you information on what's available, not just from the factory, but for aftermarket stuff that supports their vehicles. So anyway, that said, many automotive companies that have something to do with cars, whether it's fabrication, whether it's off-road, whether it's body equipment, repairs, tools, anything affiliated with the auto industry is generally there. And so what's overwhelming is when you walk through, you're like, I don't know where to go because there's literally 3.5 million square feet of space taken up by these exhibitors, and you can't get to it all. You could literally walk through the aisles and maybe get through it all in 3 days if you didn't stop to look at everything. It's overwhelming. They have lots of seminars that are really good for educational value. Most of them are not paid presenters, but these companies will come in and say, hey, I have this, this thing that I learned on, we're going to talk about, an electrical system, or we're going to talk about, what's coming out in hybrid vehicles and kind of latest technology for battery cars. I mean, the number of topics are endless. And so I require students to not just sit there and look at all the cool cars that are in SEMA, but to go participate in some of these educational seminars. So that's usually what happens the first year. The second year that you go, you have a little better idea of what's there. And so many students will go with an agenda. I make them put a list together and say, okay, who are you going to talk to? You need to somehow network with some of these companies because your name needs to get out there. They'll help you with LinkedIn profiles. They'll do headshots. They have a day that's specifically reserved for students, and that's on Monday because the show actually starts on Tuesday. So we go every year. Again, I take up way too much time just talking about SEMA, but it's a really cool thing. And we go with groups of anywhere between 10 to about 22 students. So it's a small group. We fly down, we stay in a nice place, and we drive to the convention center and just do our thing. And we're done by 5. In the evening, students do homework. Some of them have actually exams that they're missing at the time, so they do the exams in their hotel room. And some of them don't have a lot of stuff to do, so they go walk the strip. So it's Vegas, it's fun. We've never had anybody get in trouble, and we never will, because the day that somebody does get busted, that trip is off the table. So we've had good success with this for the past 13 years, I think is how long we've been going. And it's a really good experience. We have students that have actually gotten jobs from the contacts they've made at SEMA. So in a nutshell, that's SEMA.
Okay, so one of the other questions we had that I answered super briefly, but not anything like you could answer, is learning about detailing and vehicle paint and some of those details that may not be covered as much in the program. Does anything touch on those, or what do students do when they're wanting to work on detailing or paint?
You're welcome to use the space that's here. I don't cover anything body related. It's not my area. I'm all thumbs when it comes to body work. It's an art that I don't know. I'm very, I don't know the right word. My mind doesn't work in that kind of artistic way. I'll just say that. I'm pretty good at electrical and mechanical things. We can fix things that, I can fix things that get broken. I don't do well in creating things, and typically the body guys are more creative and artistic, and that's not me. That said, we've had a number of students that come through here that have those skills, and I mean, there's a certain amount of stuff that we can allow. I can't allow a paint shop on here because that would basically take up the entire space. We're not equipped with proper ventilation and things like that. But we have lots of space. If somebody wants to come in on a Sunday or an evening and do some detail work on their car, I have no problem with that, as long as the space is available. But don't expect us to have all the equipment available for you. I don't have a buffing wheel. I don't have all the rubbing compounds and the sandpapers and things like that you would probably need. But I don't have anything against it. If somebody wants to do that, especially on a rainy Sunday or something, you can work inside and it's heated in here and you're good. So, any other questions?
Yes, we just got one more. What about learning the new vehicles with STEM?
With STEM? I'm not sure I understand. Can you elaborate?
In the meantime, can you talk about some of the differences between traditional electric vehicles, diesel, the types of vehicles that they'll be working on in your program?
Yeah, they'll work on all of them. I kind of walked you through the shop a little bit before, and you'll see BMWs, you see Corvettes, you see Dodge pickup, you see an old Nissan something that's a drift car. I think it's a Nissan. I can't tell. It's kind of hacked up from here. We'll see pretty much everything. You won't become a specialist in any one thing because we see so much different stuff. We see fairly new vehicles. We actually have a hybrid vehicle that we teach a class on hybrids and electric cars. So that would be part of your curriculum. We do a class in high performance engine tuning. So, I mean, I can spend a few minutes on that. We have a shop Suburban that's a 2001 that came with a 5.3 liter engine. Yeah, that got jerked out a long time ago. We put a supercharger on it, and that couldn't keep up with the motor that we now have into it. It's a 7 liter that we've done major modifications. It's capable of probably 1,100 horsepower. It doesn't make that because we don't want it to, but I want it to be able to withstand that kind of horsepower. So that if a student makes a mistake in their tuning class and making the maps for this thing, for the computer, that they're not going to break something. So right now it puts out about between 500 and 600 horsepower. And that's our test bed. So students, as part of their experience, will get the opportunity to actually tune a vehicle. It can be the shop Suburban. Some kids have their own, and we'll allow them to use that in conjunction with the dyno. But that's actually a class. We actually don't see a lot of really old stuff. There's some students that have old cars, and I totally encourage them to work on them. But for the most part, the things that we see in here are fairly well related to newer technologies, the types of things that you would see when you go out into the field. So most kids, when they're working at a dealership, man, you're going to see all the new stuff. It's under warranty. It's all the newest technology. So we try to keep relevant with that stuff. So, and that begs the question, how do I keep up? In some ways I don't, but for the most part, I try to. I have a lot of contacts with newer vehicles that come in here, and they're nice enough to let us work on them. And in some cases, I actually do repairs for them myself, just to kind of keep my skills up and to allow us to see some of the newer things. So I'm not sure I answered that fully.
No, that was good. We didn't get any clarification, but we just got a new question. There we go. Will we operate vehicles with diesel injections is the new question.
Yes, actually, that's a really good question. In fact, what you're going to find is diesel and gas engines have become closer and closer and closer together, where they're now almost identical. There's still a few differences, but diesel has always been something that we call direct injected, where they inject the fuel directly into the combustion chamber, so right on top of the piston. Gas engines in the past 5 to 7 years have all gone that way, where previously gas engines, we injected the fuel under fairly low pressure into the intake stream, so the air coming into the motor. Now we don't do that. We inject it directly into the cylinder, and it's under much higher pressure. There's still differences in the amount of pressure. Diesel can be up to 30,000 PSI of actual injection pressure. Gasoline direct injection is down maybe 10% of that, so 2,500, 3,000 PSI. But the principles and the way it operates is still almost identical. And so there's not much difference anymore between what you see with late model diesels and what you see with late model gas. It's very, very similar technology. The thing that has allowed us to move the direction of diesel technology is all the processing power. So very, very powerful engine computers that process data extremely fast and are capable of making not just fast decisions, but actuating things very, very quickly. So there's a lot of crossover. We do have a diesel class, so you will see a diesel in here every once in a while. We've done a fair amount of work on some of them, modifications, as well as repairs. But for the most part, if you are really comfortable with gas engines and the direct injected technology that is in gas engine, it's an easy crossover to diesel because they're so similar. I mean, there's minor differences, but by and large, it's very, very similar. So, other question.
The last question that we had submitted, is there any final minute or two information that you want to share with the group that we have here, or any particular way that you prefer people reach out to you if they have other questions that they didn't want to ask live?
You know, I'm easy to reach. Do they have my email address on as part of this forum?
On the highlight videos for technology, they might have the general tech page, but I don't know that they would have yours specifically.
Okay, so you can reach me via email or cell phone or office phone. If you want to send me a text, that's also fine. I do respond as soon as I can. My email address is my name. It's rob.holm, H-O-L-M, at wallawalla.edu. My office phone is 509-527-2714. If I'm not there, it forwards to my cell phone. If you don't want to talk to me because I'm intimidating or I'm stupid, then you're welcome to text me. That number is 509-301-1439. And I will be happy to answer your questions as much as possible. Just don't expect an answer at 2 a.m. I will probably be sleeping, but during normal daylight hours, I will get back to you. What else?
Any final closing details that might be helpful for them to know? You've covered a lot already.
We have. I feel like I've just been kind of sitting here and jabbering, and it's weird to talk to a screen and not have really any interaction. So Melissa, thank you for being there. That's helpful. I would have to say in closing that I'm actually really excited about next year and the group of students that I've seen come through. We've had a few questions already in other forums. I'm pretty excited about the students that are coming through. And I'm really excited about what's happening with students once they graduate here. They're successful. They're having a good time. Their employers love them. And part of that's due to their education, but probably the majority of it is not due to what they're going to experience here, but who they are as a person and where they come from. And that's probably the most powerful thing I can tell you about this group of students is they're just all high quality. And when you get a bunch of high quality students coming through here at the same time, the same place, it makes my job really, really simple. I put learning opportunities in front of them and I get out of the way and let them go to town. And that's really how I approach education. It seems to work so far. And the last thing I'll tell you is I'm not a trained educator. I'm actually a mechanic who kind of got sucked into this, and I kind of like it, so I stuck around. They haven't fired me yet. So I don't know. That's
perfect. And if you guys have the chance to learn under Rob, you are very, very fortunate. So if you're interested in auto, This program is absolutely phenomenal. I have not heard of or experienced a program like the one that Walla Walla has, and Rob just has the coolest culture in his program. So feel free to reach out to him. He's super helpful, super down to earth. rob.holm, Holm, at wallawalla.edu. Reach out to him if you have any additional questions that you didn't ask during this live. We have a few minutes so you guys have the chance to figure out what your next interest session is for the 5 o'clock Pacific time hour, and to get ready to jump into that. Grab a snack, use the restroom, whatever you need in the next few minutes, and reach out to Rob individually if you have any additional follow-up. Or like he said, if you want to go to wallawalla.edu, click on academics. You can click on areas of study and look at automotive and see the full curriculum online, what types of classes you'll take in the automotive program, and some more contact information for the department there. So thank you guys for joining us. And Rob, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. And I hope to hear from some of you guys soon. Okay.
Have
Thanks.
a good day, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.